I'm Jane Pauley. Tonight, the plutonium incident. Dangerous nuclear material was smuggled from Moscow to the west, and it could happen again. What are they up to? Don't miss this special report tonight on NBC Nightly News.
Coming up tonight on the 6 o'clock news, fire ripped through a Duluth home early this morning. We'll have the details. U.S. Senate candidate Tom Foley picked up an important endorsement this morning in Duluth. We'll take you there. Plus, a special report on odometer tampering. We'll show you how you can protect yourself. For these stories and more, join us for tonight's 6 o'clock news.
Obviously, on two issues, and the first issue right now is to address the...
What? Are you speaking to make known to people?
I think somehow or other this should be. I have a good...
Now you city councilors, it's all up to you, yeah. Miller Creek's in your hands, and you know what to do, yeah. Coals, give it all you got, yeah. Bill here in Duluth, I'm really just fine. And you know what? You have any others? A bridge over the creek, it's for you to choose.
Minnesota, for murder 2, you do more time than any other state. The longest actual time served in any state for second-degree murder is in Minnesota. A lot of states, they say, 40 years.
Jobs, and I'm proud that that has been a cornerstone of Governor Carl's the lowest unemployment rate that the state has enjoyed.
Everybody agreed. We're going to put aside political differences. We agreed, one, that we have a bill. It was a bill that was developed by my office and the Office of the Attorney General, working together in bipartisan cooperation. It was submitted to the Task Force on Sexual Predators that was set into motion by the legislature. They think it's a good bill. They made some modifications. We've all agreed that we're signing off on that bill.
I would say there's a high probability that the deal can be done to employ 500 to 600 people in Hibbing, but it's not a completed deal, and I've been close on things before and they don't happen.
This is the actual activities that they would be doing in a structure fire. It's not something we invented. We took what we've done over the years and put it into this training. So it's the real thing.
Thursday morning, and also with the parents of Malia Stromquist. At this time, there are no leads. They have checked, they did do searches of the entire area starting last Wednesday evening, and they've come up with no leads.
Many Minnesotans don't feel this man should be let back into society. Minnesota Governor Arne Carlson doesn't feel he should. In fact, he's called a special session of the state legislature for the sole purpose of passing a new law that will keep Dennis Lenahan and other convicted sexual offenders off the streets. Lenahan murdered and raped a 14-year-old girl in 1965, but according to the state Supreme Court, he cannot be held any longer under existing Minnesota laws. He says he's changed and society has nothing to worry about. Last night on KTCA's Newsnight program in the Twin Cities, Lenahan spoke for the first time on television.
I know that I'm in control of myself where society doesn't have to be concerned about me going out there hurting them.
So you don't think you would ever commit another crime like you've done in the past?
I know that I wouldn't.
Lawmakers are expected to disagree with him and pass a new law tomorrow that will most likely result in Lenahan returning to St. Peter, where he will be kept until the state feels he's not a threat to society. Until then, Lenahan, who's being visually monitored 24 hours a day, will continue his attempt to convince society that he is a changed man.
Well, I've had 20 years now to change, and I've been changing for the last 20 years. Ever since 1975, since my last offense. I've been through numerous treatment programs. I have grown up, I've matured, I've developed my self-esteem, my self-worth.
Ted Rowlands, News 6.
This Band-Aid approach of just putting a sub pump in is wrong. We don't know if it's going to work. The MPCA, who is also another agency funded by our tax dollars, admitted they can't guarantee if it'll work. But yet, the city is insisting that we put these sub pumps in.
Oh, they already got them, they said. Oh, they got them. This place started filling up.
And this year, I want to think about the gains that we can make looking ahead. And I don't think labor ever made any gains by looking backwards. The people that got the 8-hour day in occupational health and whatever did so by fighting forward, not backwards.
Advertisements?
Yes.
Now we just had your forecast for water and a nice day. You know, our weather has been with Colorado. So all day. Positive for me over the course of the summer. And as more people are getting to know me, I'm also finding that my level of support is increasing. So I feel great about how this election is going and just look forward to the chance to run against Rod Grams in that general election and beat him. All right, well, before you go,
also representatives both in Washington and in Minnesota.
I always hope for a very high turnout, but I think we're going to get our people out to vote no matter what. We're going to work hard. I think from what I've seen, we're going to pull it through narrowly.
Well, the vast majority of people are still struggling, I believe. And although there's much available in the markets and the stores now compared to October '91 when I was there. But I think that for most people, they cannot afford to buy these things.
According to U.S. News and World Report, St. Scholastica is the 8th best value in regional universities. What that means, according to the magazine, is that the school is one of the top 10 best deals in the Midwest.
They take into consideration first is your academic quality, and then look at the affordability for students.
It also means national recognition, something St. Scholastica learned last year goes a long way. After the school was ranked in the top 10 in the magazine's 1994 edition, calls from around the nation started pouring in.
It's because it's a national publication. We last year experienced a lot of interest from around the country, from students, potential students, from parents, from college counselors, those kinds of things. They wrote to us or called us and asked for information about St. Scholastica, and we did experience growth in our out-of-state student enrollment last year.
Mark Wellseth, a freshman at St. Scholastica, saw the school listed in last year's ranking. It made an impression on him and other students who ended up coming to Scholastica this fall.
When I saw that it was ranked up there, it made me think this must be a pretty good school for it to be ranked so high in this local area.
I think that U.S. News and World Report is a very respected publication, and it's a very big investment. It's a lot of money to go to college, and I think it made me feel better as well as my parents, knowing that it was very respected and considered a good investment.
In Duluth, Ted Rowlands, News 6.
You've seen them at the checkout counter, magazine after magazine chocked full of tips on how to be a better parent. But who's got time to read them all? Stay-at-home mom Trish Casey certainly doesn't. That's why she started the Mommy Times, a monthly newsletter out of Newport Beach, California that condenses dozens of parenting tips. It's quick and easy to read and dedicated to preserving the sanity of moms nationwide.
Something small like, well, my child is throwing food across the room, what can I do? You kind of feel a little awkward about calling your pediatrician for that. But your next door neighbor may say, well, when my son did that, I did such and such.
I'll make an answer. Lisa Roddy had the same idea. She's right here in Eagan. This full-time mom spends part of her time writing and publishing Mother's Networking News out this month. She got the idea last winter.
It actually took 9 months to conceive of it, develop it, and birth it. I don't know which is easier, a real child or this.
You won't find any bothersome ads here, but recipes, poems, and practical parenting tips. Roddy hopes readers will fax in ideas, making Mother's Networking News a custom-designed newsletter for Twin Cities mothers on the go.
Short, concise information. You can stand at your kitchen sink, read it in a couple minutes, and off you go.
Great job.
Real good. A lot of people. Sold a couple stoves. Wonderful day. Nice weather.
Detailed questions, I'm sure they can provide some of, though, are the hard facts. That's what makes these cases. So we would ask that people come forward. As I said, our investigation continues. I believe we are at a critical stage, and I would hope that it will be resolved as soon as possible.
Further resolved, the clerk of the school board be instructed to notify Member Johnson of this action in writing to approve the timeline for doing this. That this evening. Yes. Okay. 709, resolution B 1094, 1529 on sewer treatment.
Mr. Chairman, Member Ferguson, in essence, what we're doing is
Member Bennett arrived at 7:05. We have recessed a closed session and will probably reconvene that later in the meeting.
White Earth tribal members stood outside the federal courthouse in St. Paul, hoping that years of complaints about election fraud on the reservation were finally going to pay off.
It's the very beginning of everything starting to unravel. We've been at this for years. They've been rigging elections for 16 years now.
Federal authorities arrested tribal election judge Carly Jaskin last week after they discovered she had allegedly shredded more than 5 bags of documents they subpoenaed for their investigation. But Jaskin's attorney, Arthur Martinez, argued the charges were not valid because there's a question of jurisdiction on the reservation.
If that is what the federal government is interested in investigating and charging people with a crime or through indictment, then the issue is whether they have a constitutional right to do that.
The group was relieved when U.S. District Judge Jonathan Leventhal found probable cause to bring the case to trial.
Today was the first time that we have seen a light at the end of a very dark tunnel that we've been staring down.
Why would Jaskin risk 5 years imprisonment for allegedly rigging an election? Some tribal members say one reason is comp money. According to tribal records turned over to investigators, Jaskin received just under $3,000 in free meals and other perks at the Shooting Star Casino in just under 6 months. Tribal members say those comps are used as bribe money.
We understand that there was votes bought for as high as $300 to $500 a street, on the street.
Tribal members say today's proceedings are just the beginning. More indictments against tribal officials are still to come.
But if we've got 30 programs out there and 20 of them aren't working, we've got to get rid of those 20 and support the 10 that are working so that the people feel that the dollars they're spending in taxes, that they're getting their bang for the buck. Ann Winnie, on the other hand, is out there to promote more and more of the same.
All sorts of ways.
And John Marty loves taxes, as you well know. And for John Marty to complain about taxes is like Al Capone complaining about a crime wave.
They all worked hard, and the main thing is keeping our eye on the ball. There's the ball. Kept our eye on it. My secretary, Cheryl, was up and down. The ball back and forth and back.
I think the detection system caused a quick response by the police, so they really had no time to get away with anything, and I'm not sure they really knew what they wanted.
It was beyond hope. It was what I would call a offensive attack on the building. It's one propane tank right near there. We took care of that right away. We cooled it off, shut it off. The building was totally engulfed. There was basically nothing we could do but suppress it for fire investigation after.
You certainly would not have What you have to do as governor is begin to pragmatically focus on what you can do to grow jobs.
I've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of good times up here, and I've not had the most perfect weather in the world, but other than that, it's been great. The people of Duluth have been great about the donations and helping the people, and I just wish I could do it again, you know, but
I've asked him a couple of weeks ago to retract them and to change, but he said he would, but he didn't.
She's looking pretty good. She wasn't real eager to come out just at first, but we tempted her with a nice mackerel, and she brought it outside, as some of us noticed, and seemed to enjoy it, looking for more. It helps that yesterday was the day that we normally fast our animals, so she was on the hungry side.
Actor Brad Pitt will soon be seen in a movie about vampires, and now he's in final negotiations to star in one that deals with monkeys.
I haven't been human for 200 years.
Pitt's long-in-the-tooth co-star in Interview with a Vampire is Tom Cruise. Pitt's in talks to play an animal activist in the new drama The 12 Monkeys. Also in negotiations to co-star is actress Madeline Stowe. They join Bruce Willis, who plays an ex-convict fighting a deadly 21st century disease. Filming begins in Philadelphia in late January.
I don't find those guys, man. You gotta, these corny songs they keep playing every time. No, I find...
The Tonight Show's Branford Marsalis has announced he's taking an indefinite leave of absence from the show early next year. He says he plans to spend more time with his 8-year-old son. His spokesperson claims the musician isn't being replaced and continues to enjoy a good relationship with Leno. The director who brought the French thriller La Femme Nikita to the big screen is in Beverly Hills tonight for the premiere of his latest film.
Leanne, what exactly do you do for a living?
Cleaner.
You mean you're a hitman?
Yeah.
Cool.
The Professional is an action-packed thriller about a French hitman and a teenage girl who develop a warm relationship. It stars Jean Reno, Gary Oldman, and Danny Aiello. The film is in theaters nationwide November 18th. The men who wrote legendary songs including Jailhouse Rock and Stand By Me are getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today. Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller will be on hand to receive the honor. Also attending the ceremony to congratulate them is Dick Clark. That's all for the E! Entertainment Report. I'm Steve Kometko.
Well, I've just seen the limousine twice, nothing inside, so, but it's fun to watch the reaction of people as he passes. So.
And make her presentation. In Vietnam, 59,000 Americans were killed in 11 years of warfare. In America, 273,000 Americans were killed in 11 years of drunken driving.
Fried rice.
Fried rice.
Would you like some?
Chicken fried rice. You should try some. It's really good for you.
Stir fry and the chicken fajita is really good too.
If you are nuts about eating, Pioneer Hall in Duluth was the place to be today to pig out.
We had pizza, cheese.
Every type of food you could imagine was being doled out this afternoon in bite-sized portions to the grazing masses.
Turkey, ice cream.
Sponsored by Super One Foods, the event called the Holiday Feast was just that. Fine dining.
Different kinds of coffee.
Even fine dining music. To get into today's event, the cost was $1. For that, you could eat as much as you wanted. You could even take some home with you for later. And not only did people fill their stomachs, but they helped fill the Northland's food shelves.
This turned out better than we anticipated. We just have had a tremendous turnout today. I cannot thank the area communities. The whole Northland turned out today to help make this just a huge success.
So everyone was happy. Area food shelves received the proceeds. The people who came enjoyed the food.
It's also good. Very, very tasty.
And the folks paying for all the food were pleased as well.
it gets our product out, let people try it, and so they can sample it. Everybody says so far it's been good, and it's hard to keep up. It's amazing. I didn't think it would be this busy.
The goal for this event was to bring in 7,000 people. By 12:30, 5,000 had already made their rounds. Most left so full they said they wouldn't be eating dinner.
Maybe not even dinner tomorrow.
In Duluth, Ted Rowland, News 6.
Yes, I am. I'm the mother.
This is a very incredible dream for me and for all the families at St. Michael's School.
Miles strongly objects to the clause, saying that it only sends the message that the board is anticipating failure.
The reason I believe that is that anytime the school district has a disagreement with the superintendent, it just takes 5 people gathered, 30-day notice to say sayonara.
School board member Tim Grover is standing behind the escape clause, though. He says the board shouldn't have to have its hands tied if the new superintendent doesn't work out.
I don't think it says anything negative about the board's intentions or anything. It's just a realistic clause to have in there, just like termination with cause.
Members of the International Airline Passenger Association to avoid commuter regional aircraft under 31 seats. We've done that because we've made a 15-year study of the commuter regional airline business in the United States and ascertained that the real safety hazard is in the under 31 seat aircraft. We have the least sophisticated airplane operated by the lowest seniority flight crews, operating the most number of hours during the month, into the most poorly equipped airports with the fewest number of instrument landing systems. And when you add those all together, there should be no surprise why these aircraft are having the greatest number of accidents.
And then those legends sort of play themselves out in the second part of the show, which is a contemporary setting with 4 kids who come from backgrounds that correspond to those ancestor figures. And some of the sort of the things they're dealing with and their struggles in life, and also and so through the show they find some inspiration from the natural world, from each other.
Of the students, that is the reason why. You just did not see just black students. You didn't see Asian students. You just didn't see white students. You saw all students. This is what the Harry Odom Scholarship is all about. It's not just for minorities.
John Marty in the September primary.
A union that has been honoring the United Transportation Union strike against the Sioux Line has spent the day preparing for its own possible strike.
Nonprofit organizations have been using charitable gambling like bingo and pull tabs as a fundraising tool for some time. Allied Charities of Minnesota is the largest trade association of licensed gambling organizations in the country.
Well, it's become one of the great fundraising tools available to charitable organizations. Last year, we paid about $58 million in taxes to the state of Minnesota, which is the single largest beneficiary, as well as raising about $75 million for the programs and projects in virtually every community throughout the state.
However, sales have slowed down in the past few years since the state legalized other forms of gambling.
There are only, we've got the lottery, we've got lawful gambling, and the Indian casinos as well as the racetrack are the legal forms of gambling in the state. So yes, we compete with each other.
But representatives of nonprofit groups using charitable gambling say they're succeeding, even with stiff competition from casinos and lotteries. They say charitable gambling patrons know they're supporting community projects and will continue to do so in the future. In Duluth, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
You have more chips coming, sir. Anybody that can chip.
Facility. The IRRB, which currently owns the coats, must decide how the...
The question that I confront you with is, what is the chief priority?
We do, however, have some control and I think some obligations over what we do locally, whether we examine or don't examine our programs. Maybe we have, God forbid, stop trying to do everything for everyone. I know that's almost, it sounds so simple, but it's almost heresy in the public sector to even consider cutting back on what we do when we have less funding available.
Up every hour or so. We need restrooms. We need some classrooms.
Is there, earlier, is it, how much exactly would we need in building?
That would be the final cost.
Are you at all frustrated by
simple as a plastic swimming pool, but nonetheless, we used to warm up every hour or so. We need restrooms. We need some classrooms, display areas.
As the East High School Gymnasium fills up with boxes brimming with food, clothes, and gifts, students are bridging a generation gap and learning lessons they'll take outside the classroom.
I mean, sometimes teenagers get a bad rap, and it's really great when we can show everyone that we really care.
What makes Project Joy special for East students is its personal touch. For example, Mrs. Olson's homeroom have given a sweater and gloves to a woman named Irma, and they've enclosed a photo of their homeroom and individual messages to her.
Oh, when you think of how lucky you really are, I feel bad for ever complaining about anything when I look at what these people don't have, and it really makes everyone feel good about themselves to bring in things like this.
So everybody's done their part this year. It's just great.
At At Duluth East High School, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
We're getting out more like to the organizations and stuff and requesting that we need the help, and they've been really good, both money and toys and food.
No, they're going to come. The little kids get bags, I guess. I don't know how many of them are going to sit inside each other because they're the same size.
Storms concentrated southern part of the state, northern part of Iowa, now beginning to move into the western sections of Wisconsin.
Many of the authorities that surrounded the Schultz home yesterday knew the family and suspected the worst even before it was confirmed. Monty Schultz had a history of abuse against his wife of 8 years. Cheryl Schultz's family supported her in her attempts to break out of the violent marriage and said she followed the rules of the system.
They don't keep him in. The last time Dan Blank suggested that they keep him in, the commissioner let him out.
What do you think about that?
I think it's horrible. You go do everything by the book.
Douglas County District Attorney Dan Blank was among those at a meeting in Superior today in an attempt to assess whether the system needs to be changed or whether the Schultz case was a tragedy that couldn't have been prevented.
When someone makes a decision that they are going to kill someone and or themselves, the system can't stop that. There's no way to take and predict someone's going to follow through on their threats and lock them up forever.
But the group decided there are areas of the system that can be improved. They discussed a couple of ideas that could possibly make women safer.
And one of the things is that they're looking into getting more of a psychological profile of that person. Another possibility is that any domestic incident that occurs out there, they don't get released until there's a court appearance.
The psychological profile would help to determine if an abuser were showing signs that his violence would continue or escalate. Out of the tragedy that happened here yesterday could come some things that just might help to protect other women from a similar fate in the future. In Superior, Barbara Riles, News 6.
It is not appropriate to put this at the center of our city because it doesn't fit. It's due to be placed right along here, and some of the proposals that I've seen, the guns will be aiming right up there at First United Methodist Church, Copper Top on the skyline, and I guess that message kind of concerns me a little bit. I really appreciate the military, and so the idea is this is not comprehensive. This is only one issue. But it's one of the issues that we show our seriousness. We need to communicate. The reason I'm offering this resolution is we need to communicate to the MPCA that we're serious. We need to communicate to the citizens of Duluth. We were asking them earlier this year to spend $1,300 put in.
The whole school pulled together and donated gifts, wrapping paper, clothes for the family so that they could have a nice Christmas.
For what? Oh, for that. Yep. It's upstairs. Files and we'll let me see more into the names. And I've been good. Yes.
1994, this is 80% of what. We did not issue bonds. This is the maximum we could issue. Otherwise,
what's the process from here?
the city of Duluth will lose between $180,000 and $300,000 in interest earnings during the course of the next year if this would not pass.
The out-of-town people buy them at an enormous pace. We've already taken 200 orders. 10% of our mailing list has responded over the holidays to this first mailing, so it's pretty impressive.
There you go. Thank you.
He's 6'4".
For NBC Sports on New York, he was kind of John How long have you been in the final process in '96? In April of '96, we have our national tournament. The top 8 guys that come out of that wrestle a round robin for our Olympic trials, our final Olympic trials in June of '96. And whoever comes out on top is the Olympian. And I feel I stack up pretty well. I wrestled these guys in practice all the time, and I know where I'm at, and I know what I got to do to get there.
For the consumer, they will see a small increase in their costs from 29 cents to 32 cents for a first-class letter. We figure that'll translate into about 75 cents a month for the average consumer mailing their bills and personal letters.
Minnesota collected a record $250 million in child support during 1994, but according to county agencies, it wasn't good enough. More than 200 delinquent parents still owe nearly $10 million.
In 1976, in a good month, we collected $100,000.
Now it's over $1 million a month. This county alone collects every single month. So for the year of 1994, we collected over $15 million.
In an effort to collect more, the Minnesota Department of Human Services began advertising today. Their ads don't contain catchy slogans, wild graphics, or interesting font unless you're a deadbeat parent, in which case picking up the paper today and turning to page 8B might have quickly grabbed your attention. The advertisement is a list of the most deadbeat parents in the state. Their delinquency ranges from $36,000 to just under $100,000. Because of a new law that took effect today, names of the people on this list will be published in the largest paper in their home county.
Child support is one of the best preventative programs for welfare dependency, because if child support is paid, often the amount that's paid is higher than an AFDC grant, and so the parent, and it's usually the mother with the children, never ends up on AFDC. The people that are involved in the advertisement got letters and knew what was going to happen if they didn't pay the bill, so it wasn't a surprise to them. But I think what it does is it raises public consciousness.
State and local child support agencies are hoping that the personal exposure will produce more in the way of child support payments from delinquent parents and less from county agencies who are currently footing the bill. In Duluth, John Jetta, News 6.
Pull it off of this year's agenda, and they are considering happiness. I also think that we have a basic right in this country.
We would hope that the Federal Environmental Protection Agency may take some supervision in this situation and try to come to some ultimate solution to this.
There's no way of telling for sure.
You think Wendy's the mayor?
Wendy. She was at something Central County, Big Source. And this is her hobby for walking. They bend the toes up so high. And they bit one of the gloves. You can see their gloves laying all over the place.
Service will be next week. And, what an exciting moment. I mean, we have less than 500 employees here. All of a sudden, 1,000 will be our neighbors within 2 miles.
As it turns out, Postmaster Hughes will have even more neighbors than he thinks. The Midwest Barcoding Center is expected to employ 1,000 people, of which 300 will be full-time. According to local economists, those new jobs at the coding center will translate into 300 additional jobs from growth and expansion.
We're going to have other industries, from grocery stores to gas stations to the electric utility to the telephone company. Each of those businesses are going to have to expand their operation to house and clothe and feed and provide utilities for these people. And so you could probably almost double the new jobs coming in.
Local job officials are not worried about filling all of the employment vacancies. They say that the area has more than enough capable individuals. However, they do warn of a possible mass exodus of already employed individuals toward the better job. This change of jobs could result in a shortage of minimum wage workers. To combat this shortage, employers may have no other alternative than to raise hourly wages.
I know from the Twin Cities, what has happened is wages for those jobs that were at lower wages have risen in past years because of the labor shortage. Restaurants, the service stations, that type of thing.
Either way, area residents benefit. Whether it be from more jobs or an increase in the wage scale, it's clear that many want in on the action, even though the Postal Service is weeks away from beginning their hiring process.
Within the next couple of weeks, a notice advertising opportunities for people to apply for the written examination, and there'll be a specific time, probably a 5-day period. and we will establish that for the city of Duluth here through our postal service.
Here's another bit of good news for the area. The barcoding center is designed to sort mail electronically, much faster than the current method of hand sorting. According to postal officials, improved sorting ability will translate into faster mail service for the Northland. In Duluth, John Jetta, News 6.
Yeah, I always get it wrong. That's okay.
We're trying to raise some money and just kind of get the concept to our children that of giving and sharing and doing something nice for other people. And we're trying to start that at a young age.
It's not been an honest argument with Minnesotans for people to say, we're going to cut $1.3 trillion, that's part of our contract, and we're going to do it by eliminating waste. That's not true. There are going to be very deep cuts in programs that's going to create a lot of harm for people.
They talked about COLA. Why should Social Security have a COLA?
Like 40% of the expenditures.
Yeah. So that the workforce, you know, that's where, I mean, the way the Social Security Trust Fund works is that those that work, it's on the basis of their wages. I think it's a kind of regressive tax. I don't know why it's a flat tax up to a certain income and then not above that. But then that supports people who are retired. And then when we retire,
It was icy conditions, and the only thing I remember from the accident is coming over the hill and realizing that the car wasn't going to stop.
Wesley Little wears a neck brace and has trouble with short-term memory. Yet a memory he can't get out of his mind is that of January 10th, when he and 4 friends were heading to a basketball game on County Road B in Hawthorne. The group never made it to the game. They collided into the side of a train. Donovan and Robert Mackey were both killed in the accident. Wesley and 2 others are still recovering from injuries. The same intersection was the site of a similar accident on Monday. The driver was not injured, but many are worried that another tragedy is coming. George Palo, the Douglas County Highway Commissioner, knows there's a problem and hopes by summer construction will begin to alleviate it.
So it would be a multitude of things, but the end result is that the hill would be lowered.
The hill, located 1/10 of a mile from the crossing, makes it very difficult for motorists to stop if they're speeding or if it's icy. Residents are asking for a short-term solution to this problem. The county is suggesting a change in the speed limit. Currently, it's at 55 miles per hour, but 55 miles per hour is awfully fast to try to stop your car from the top of the hill and still stop before the intersection, especially if the roads are slippery. The speed limit will be changed to 35 miles per hour with county board approval as soon as possible. By next year, the road itself should be completely reconstructed, hopefully in time to avert another tragedy.
I'm thinking about it every day, you know. I can't get it off my mind. I've lost 2 of my best friends.
In Hawthorne, Ted Rowlands, News 6.
We lived down the street half a mile from each other since kindergarten, 1st grade. And
We've done a lot of work, a lot of people involved, and it's nice to get some recognition.
very much, Governor. It's
And I'm mindful, as I assume my responsibilities, that perhaps I'm going to have a little different role and perhaps can give back some of the same experiences and guidance to others that have been given to me by the members of the bench of this district.
And Highway 53 is being built as we speak. The building behind me was an effort that we brought down there 10 years ago. The information center used to be outside of town. Now it's here and more functional. We did bring public radio. We saved some 40 jobs in the Grain Bureau here in Superior.
Duluth City councilors were up in arms after learning that the head of the controversial Des Moines project is on the city's payroll. Councilors claimed they were never told project director Jeff Potts was hired by the city.
I'm very upset about it. I think that this is really out of line, or at least it's certainly unusual that we would be hiring project technicians, is that what you called him, for a specific project like this that the mayor has been so oblique about whether he supports or not.
Support or not, Mayor Gary Doty has met with City Administrator Carl Nolenberger and Potts several times. But when councilors asked about the status of the project, they were told, "We don't know."
And when we ask questions and get told we don't know anything about it, it's a private project, and the person who's in charge of the project is on the city payroll, something isn't quite right.
While the USS Des Moines sits in a Philadelphia harbor, the director of the project to bring it here is making $1,500 a month for a controversial project. Nolenberger told councilors that Potts was hired only as a temporary employee. The councilors still say they should have been told.
Have to, we can go back to finance and amend the budget and take away the discretion that you have if you're not going to be upfront with us. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous.
In Duluth, Molly McMillan, News 6.
And the brown earth turned white. Feel white. Fields and stone walls, roads and gutters, lawns and sidewalks, all were buried under the soft white snow.
King Lion pulled out the sticks. Then he asked Iguana, "What evil have you been plotting against the python?" "None, none at all," cried the iguana.
There are few things as delicious as a frothy glass of amber brew to quench your thirst, especially when that frothy brew is made at home. Cindy Spillers is a professor at UMD and a home brewer. She adds dried malt extract to a pot of water and brings it to a boil. Then it's time to add hops.
Hops have a bitter flavor, and so if a brewer does things right, the sweetness of the malt and the bitterness of the hops ought to balance out, and you get a real balanced beer.
Spillers has brewed about 50 batches of beer over the last 3 years. She says a little bit of cooking ability is all it takes. She's created all sorts of wild concoctions using everything from pumpkins to raspberries.
So when I tried it, I thought, yeah, it isn't very hard, and it gives a person a chance to be pretty darn creative. So it's my outlet for culinary creativity.
After an hour of boiling, the mixture is added to cold water in a large bottle called a fermenter. Spillers strains the liquid to separate the hops. Spiller says there are a few things more fun than making beer, and they are cracking a bottle that's been aging for a while, pouring it, and watching a creamy head form, and of course, drinking it.
Oh, it's delicious. I mean, it tastes like raspberry jam or something. It's great.
Ooh. Not bad.
It's delicious. It's really good.
Oh, gosh.
I went to their section final in a 9,000-seat arena against Apple Valley, and 8,000 people were for Apple Valley, so we don't expect anything different, and I think that'll help carry us through. I went to their section final in a 9,000-seat arena against Apple Valley, and 8,000 people were for Apple Valley, so we don't expect anything different, and I think that'll help carry us through.
The call came in around 4:30. 4 victims in the water. One made it to shore and called for help. A CHP helicopter picked 2 others off an island in the river. But a little girl was pinned by raging waters, submerged.
Jesse, when your feet hit the water, you'll start to move. You can maneuver.
American ambulance rescue divers were on the scene in minutes and were lowered into the icy waters. But the current was too strong, and the first diver cut himself free of his lifeline and floated downriver.
I couldn't get her. She lodged.
A second diver went in. He fought numbness and time. The girl's family watched, helpless, her life in rescuers' hands. And finally, Mark Murphy was successful.
Her body had become entrapped in that plastic canoe, and we had to get her body untrapped from that canoe. I had repositioned myself several times. I got a better angle on it, and I was able to get her out.
Get oxygen on the patient. Let's dry him off. We got a shock. Let's shock.
But the battle had only just begun. Paramedics fought to revive the girl. Although there were no vital signs, her body temperature was very cold, and that may have helped preserve her. She was rushed to St. Agnes Hospital, where doctors brought her back. She was then transported to Valley Children's Hospital.
This is probably one of the most dramatic, one of the most incredible rescues I've ever seen in 23 years in this department.
This story is a graphic reminder of how dangerous flooded waters have become and how deadly they can be. In Fresno, California, Brent Schweigert for NBC News.
Well, we've got all you can eat today, so I wouldn't doubt, let's see, 500, probably 3 each. Probably around 4,000. Bet you there are people having doubles and thirds.
What we're trying to do here is trying to raise awareness throughout the community of Duluth, at least, that there's a serious problem with this and we need to get some activism and change this and go against it. Otherwise, if we just sit here and not do anything about it, nothing's ever going to happen about it.
Money for the poor, not for war.
It's kind of a special treat to be chancellor at a time when one is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the university.
If you look around the city of Duluth and you look up into the air.
I was down in Cedar Rapids, Iowa for a while, and we built these control panels to light the...
There's a savings because we use less power, there's less pollution, and as an added benefit is there's a less cost. We expect to be saving about $103,000 a year because of the changes that are going to...
New law on the state for cities and municipalities on an annual basis. So that if we do not meet the savings on an annual basis, Johnson Controls is probably about 5 weeks away from completion. So we don't have all the costs together. Do you have an estimate? I know.
Any other questions? Abusers become abusers in later years, so it's so important to educate early on and let people know, that they should be reporting their abuse and direct them to get help, so when they become adults, they don't end up abusing their children. So I present this to you with my thanks, and would turn this over to you for you to make whatever comments you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor Doty, and those of you that are here today for helping us raise awareness about child abuse prevention.
primarily drawn up by supporters of big business.
They just better figure out better ways to do it. Either that, or are they going to be part of condemning their own grandchildren to lives which are miserable?
Environmental groups have organized a huge trip to Washington to lobby against the proposal. Developers claim that there are some good provisions to this bill which would enable cities and states more flexibility when building on wetlands without doing long-term damage to the environment.
Flows down, we get
In their whirlwind of change, Republicans are trying to rewrite one of the nation's biggest environmental protection laws, the Clean Water Act. The proposal would lift restrictions on wetlands, and that makes environmentalists angry, partially because the new bill was primarily drawn up by supporters of big business.
They just better figure out better ways to do it. Either that, or are they going to be part of condemning their own grandchildren to lives which are miserable?
Environmental groups have organized a huge trip to Washington to lobby against the proposal, drumming up support from all over the country, including Duluth. They're especially concerned about a provision that would cut the number of federally protected wetlands in half, and the fact that it would make it easier for businesses to build without the red tape of environmental guidelines. Developers claim that there are some good provisions to this bill which would enable cities and states more flexibility when building on wetlands without doing long-term damage to the environment. In the past, developers were held up by the current Clean Water Act for projects like Target and the East End School. Industry supporters say the new bill would allow those kinds of projects but still protect the environment. Opponents, however, are trying to make sure of that by fighting for their say in Washington. In Duluth, Molly McMillan, Channel 6 News.
The monetary worth of
The real impact will be on the resort owners and the tourism industry. They're going to have to expend significant dollars to make sure their boats comply with the U.S. Coast Guard recommendation.
So out of the country, and in fact creating an island.
Let me give you something on background on retribution.
Well, how much do you think gas will go up with the pump with this more expensive type of fuel product?
We estimate at least 10 cents per gallon increase in the price of gas because of the ethanol mandate.